everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Silicon Dreams on Radio Zindagi 1550 AM. This is your show host, RJ Sonia, the founder and CEO of Orbis 86, where we are creating accessible onboarding opportunities for those who want to learn about Web3 and AI. Again, thank you to Nicholas, founder of DINO.Live, for joining us here on the show. Because the crypto industry in itself is barely 10 years old. So finding somebody with the right experience becomes a challenge. But if you are net new, then the learning curve is that steep that a lot of the smaller companies can't find the time and resources to train you.
Of course, yeah. So I ended up finding a guy who was trying to build, the Web3 LinkedIn. And so he told me about the idea. And instead of being his intern, I asked him if I can be his co-founder, because he was the only one in the company. And we were so that's how I started my startup journey and building the Web3 LinkedIn. That was back in last year's June. And the reason we are building this was because last year crypto was still pretty hot. There were a
lot of new people who came into the crypto space, and in hordes, in millions.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And also, I think we look at the statistics last year, they have, raised probably tens of billions of dollars. And I know with all that money, you need to hire someone. So we build a place for you to hire. And and so that makes a lot of sense as a first. And but after we start building the platform, we found it's it's not a super big market, because again, crypto is still a very small industry. The total valuation of across all coins is only $1 trillion. So that's even smaller than Google. And people usually hire based on referrals instead of going to, for example, going to LinkedIn to find someone.
And there is actually a good reason for it. In the past, even now, a lot of the times we have developers who go rogue, who will use the keys and then just steal all the money from a contract. So you really need to have a lot of trust in the people that you're hiring, because you're sharing a lot of data with them. And crypto is all about self-custody, as you said, right? You earlier spoke about how you like the fact that in a decentralized setup, people own their data, right? So even if they were to go on a decentralized LinkedIn version, they own their data, whatever they have built there, the articles they have posted, they own it. So in any case, like today, if LinkedIn or YouTube were to shut down a creator, and if they don't have a backup of their data, it's lost. But more importantly, more than the data, what they also lose is all the connections that they have made. Whereas when we look at a Web3 kind of social enterprise, a Web3 based social platform, with your ID, you're not just associated to your data. You don't just own the data, but you also own the connections you have made. And then if you wanted to go from one platform to another, a proper Web3 setup will allow you to take your connections from one platform to another. I mean, they stay with you versus staying on the platform. So that makes a lot of difference. But at the same time, as you're saying, it's still a small community, right? And every day we have more people getting introduced to the world of Web3. But still, overall, it is small. And at its peak, it was a $3 trillion. It was a $3 trillion industry. Now it is a $1 trillion industry. But yeah, that changes every single day with the market changing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So how did you go from building the LinkedIn to building DINO?
So actually, we didn't go directly to DINO. So we actually last year it was a super hot topic about DID, so decentralized identities. I think that was a concept proposed by Vitalik. He proposed, the decentralized identity and also the SBT, the soulbound token. And, that was super popular last year. And so we actually formally into that topic after, the DID. And, we actually try building decentralized identity for 2 months. And, there's tens of hundreds of companies doing that, because DID, it doesn't have a super high barrier. And you have to have a lot of applications built, built on top of your DID.
So for folks who are listening in, I will quickly touch upon why decentralized identities are required. When you're in the US, you might not really realize, but it's very easy for us to go and get our identities like if you want to get a state ID or if you want to go and get your driver's license, it's easier. But for a lot of economies around the world and a lot of countries, this process is not actually very well managed. In fact, when it comes to even housing titles and stuff, there are a lot of countries in Africa where it's not properly managed and there are no clear records, or a lot of record keeping is still done on paper. And we have seen even from historical fires and stuff that paper can be so easy to destroy, but also it's easy to manipulate. So if you are in a corrupt society, it's very easy. If you go and mortgage your land to a loan shark, it's very easy for the loan shark to work with the city to just change the title and show that they are the owners. So blockchain allows us to provide an infrastructure to disable such happenings, right? And enable more transparency, more clarity. But more importantly, we have seen applications where people, so for example, if you have an illegal immigrant in the country, it's hard for them to get IDs and stuff, right? And it's unfortunate. And obviously, I don't want to get into the political discussions of whether having illegal immigrants in the United States, it's good, bad, ugly. I don't want to talk about that. But it's we know that there are a lot of illegal immigrants and they don't have documents. So with decentralized identities, you could actually create a social proof based system where you have other people who have their IDs vouch for you. And that's how you create a social nexus and you use your social capital to really let people talk about you. Then we have other ecosystems like Cardano actually has a very well-enabled Atala Prism, which is a decentralized identity system. So, they have that. But I was just talking about the use cases. There is a need for decentralized identity, especially leveraging your social capital. So then you worked on that. And then what happened?
So I worked on that. I think back then, the whole story about decentralized identity is basically, you're trying to connect people's Web2 social data with their on-chain Web3 data. And I mean, the idea was super sexy, but actually when you're actually building it, it's super difficult because, the majority of the data is controlled by the Web2 companies like Google and Meta. And like, there's no way people from, the decision makers of those companies going to be giving all those data to Web3 and actually there's no way for Web3 companies to start building it because they don't have the data. So I reached the conclusion that, if you, I think the idea is something we're definitely going to have in probably 10 or 20 years, but it's not the time right now. You have to do it like from Web2 to Web3, not from Web3 to Web2.
I think that's an excellent point. Just for startup entrepreneurs in general, right? A lot of the times founders are working on an idea that is something that can be a good idea, but 10 to 20 years down the line. So pivoting is extremely important because a lot of the times we hear it from the VCs. We see the market signals where you realize that your idea is just way ahead of its time and it's not ready to be implemented. So I think that's a valuable lesson for a lot of founders in general, right? That you have to identify a product market fit. Whatever product you're putting out in the market, is the market ready to accept it, and is there a market for that, right? So that's where you evaluate your target addressable market, whether you have users who want it. And many times founders unfortunately get into that loop where they will create a product that they love.
Super subjective. It's
super subjective, yes, because your product is like your baby. So you will create a product and every parent loves their baby. But getting other parents to love your baby is the trick. So here you always lead with something that is solving a customer problem and that can see good adoption. Great. So then you realize that DID is, I agree with you, DID is really at the moment ahead of its time. So that's why we have the larger ecosystems working on more pilots than smaller companies push for it. You do have companies building for it, but as you said, it's already a small market and saturated then in that case. So then how did you go from there to DINO?
So when I was invested by the Miracle Plus, I went back to China, and one of my investor, he was actually, he was the president of Microsoft, and he was working closely with Bill Gates and saw many of the, like the founders of Google or Meta when they building their companies. And he told me a very interesting story. So, like everyone probably knows there's a huge Chinese company called Tencent, which owns like WeChat. That's like the probably biggest one of the biggest social medias in the world. And so before WeChat, the founder of Tencent built the software called QQ. So that's basically like before WeChat. And my investor told me a very interesting story. So back in 2002, the founder of Tencent was actually selling QQ. Back then, QQ has 5 million users, and he was only selling it for 1 million Chinese yuan, which is 150K. Why? Because he wasn't able to make any money because there were no advertisements back then, and he has to pay for the server costs, like everything. And he went to all those like Chinese billionaires back then. None of them would buy it because they said, I can hire a few college students and build exactly
another messaging app.
Yeah, I know. Like, why would I buy you? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. But later there's a super famous Chinese investor now. He's the founder of the Hill House Capital, and he just graduated from Yale. He raised $20 million from the Yale School Board, and he actually invested all $20 million into Tencent. And that's how
all 20 million into
QQ.
All
of them, yeah. First investment, 100% all into QQ.
Oh, that's actually not the way we
it's not suggested. It's not suggested. Yeah, but I mean, he was able to 500x of his money because Tencent got so big.
Yeah.
And I think for me, the key takeaway of this story is for early internet startups, I think I should think about how can I capture the best tractions. Instead of I should be thinking about okay, how can I have people using my product instead of people just paying for it, because the business model or the business sense of those early internet might not be discovered. Like somebody is gonna discover it in the future, and all I want to do is I have the tractions, and so when we have the business model, I can actually make some money. Mm-hmm. And I think quoting from the famous investor Peter Thiel. He said that the startup is the process of you're creating some value to the world, and then you capture a fraction of the value you created. And so if, for example, right now I'm busy thinking about the business model of Web3, even if I found out the model, I wasn't able to capture the fraction of the value because I'm not a a big company in Web3, or I'm a super small company. Yeah, so okay, so I thought about I shouldn't be focusing on getting the business model, and I should be focusing more about okay, what people really need. How can I get the most tractions?
So you focus on building value for them, and if you build value and your value gets traction, mm-hmm. as you said, as a founder, you can always figure out a business model to capture value from mm-hmm. that. Mm-hmm. From that traction. And this is a good use case. So, one of the examples that a lot of people can relate to, just mm-hmm. speaks to you, is how LinkedIn was launched. Mm-hmm. In fact, a lot of the businesses, right? Facebook, LinkedIn, WhatsApp, mm-hmm. none of them launched with a business model mm-hmm. on day one. Mm-hmm. They launched as a way to solve a problem. Mm-hmm. So I'll take the LinkedIn story because WhatsApp is very different. They did not have a model until the acquisition happened. So mm-hmm. I'll skip WhatsApp. Yep. And Facebook or LinkedIn, right? So Facebook story, a lot of people have seen the social network movie. Mm-hmm. So they know that day one, they weren't even trying to launch any ads and stuff. They just wanted a lot more people to come in. Yep. But once they had those people, mm-hmm. today we know that in the digital ad space, which is mm-hmm. worth hundreds of billions of dollars annually, mm-hmm. Google and Facebook are the ones who mm-hmm. lead that market segment. Yep. So today, Facebook makes tens of billions of dollars mm-hmm. purely from the sale of ads. But on day one, when Facebook was launched, they didn't want ads to spoil the experience. Mm-hmm. So the first thing that they actually did was bring people in. Yep. Now, similarly with LinkedIn, when LinkedIn launched, you already had so many networking platforms, mm-hmm. but none of them were necessarily focused on professional networking. Mm-hmm. So LinkedIn started with a professional networking mm-hmm. model. Mm-hmm. And today, LinkedIn's model is so different from Facebook's. Yes, mm-hmm. there are ads on LinkedIn as well, but a lot of LinkedIn's revenue comes from subscriptions and from recruiters mm-hmm. trying to find people. Yep. So LinkedIn was able to figure out a different model, revenue mm-hmm. model that mm-hmm. worked with the kind of value they had created for mm-hmm. the ecosystem. Yep. And again, even with LinkedIn, in fact, when LinkedIn was the fastest company, mm-hmm. and when they became $1 billion company, they were the fastest company to become $1 billion company mm-hmm. within 18 months. Wow. But even within those 18 months, mm-hmm. they still did not have $1 coming in, right? Wow. Because they didn't have any business model or a package or anything mm-hmm. that people could actually buy into. But today we know that recruiters, all of these, even professional subscriptions, people mm-hmm. easily pay LinkedIn anywhere between $30-$40 to hundreds of dollars every month just for their subscription costs.
Yep. Exactly.
So then how did you decide to create DINO?
So I thought about, I go to, because I'm a pretty outgoing person, and I go to a bunch of events, not only Web3 events, but also a bunch of, Web2 like sports games. And like I went to all those events. So first when I go to, the Web3 conferences, I realized, so first there's everyone here is Web3 professionals. It's a super high percentage of like Web3 native people here. But like none of them has, a place to actually networking with each other and or discover Web3 events. That's the first pinpoint I found. And the second is when I go to, the sports games, I realize, okay, like there's, I don't know how to say that in English, but in China, we have, like someone who's like, who buy the ticket at their, like they are not going to the event, but they bought like 50 tickets. But they are like, selling it on the secondary market
like
too.
Wholesalers or something.
Yeah, wholesalers. Yeah, they make like a profit from this. Yeah, and I realized, okay, and for all those tickets, people take them as like collectives. Many people, they go to their NBA games, they're gonna save their tickets, like probably put it in a shelf. And okay, I realized, okay, why don't you put that on blockchain, right? And so not only blockchain is irreversible, it's on chain forever. And it also helps, to have a track of who has the ticket or who attended the events. So it's gonna be a digital proof. It's like a digital footprint of your journey. And that's why actually at DINO, we have a section called digital footprint. That's like a collection of all the places you went to attend the events. And I think the blockchain has, the potential to, so for our slogan, we call it events memorized tokenized. So basically we have, create tokens like NFTs to commemorate all those tickets and all those events you went to. And also what we can do is, we can help that to do like further marketings. So for example, I can give you an example of how it works on like our current case study. So we are actually partnering with OKX right now. So OKX is one of the biggest crypto exchange like right now. So basically
OKX is a big crypto exchange across globally. When we look at them, they are probably second or third globally in terms of volume. They are also there in US, but they have limited tokens in US that they sell because of the SEC. Mm-hmm. Because of SEC, I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yep.
But globally, especially in the Asian market, OKX has a lot of trading volume, and they're also very well regulated. They, especially after the FTX, Celsius, all of these crashes, there have been a few exchanges, and OKX is one of them, that have been very forthcoming about auditing their proof of reserves and then sharing their proof of reserves with the community.
For sure. Yeah. So something we are doing actually with OKX right now, it's like, for example, we have, a big Stanford event at August 28th, next Monday. And we're going to be giving out an NFT to everyone who attended the events. It's not going to be like you have to have certain stuff to get the NFT. All you need to do is have a ticket. And we're actually going to put the NFT on the blockchain, and we know, okay, who is this person, and he has, this NFT on blockchain. And so what you can do is, with that token on chain, when you go to the OKX, you can get like a 40% off on trading fees, because you are one of, the super early supporters of the OKX, because that event we are co-hosted with OKX. And I think to make it this easier to understand, it's, for example, if Taylor Swift is, hosting a big concert with, let's say,
she has a tour going on right now.
Yeah, she has a tour going on. Yeah, maybe I should try to contact her. Yeah. So she has, probably like 20, 10,000 people coming for a concert. And let's see, let's say like she wants to do a raffle of like, a private dinner with 50 people. And how can she do that? It's going to be super hard, to track who has a ticket, and also to track, who attended the events.
And also to communicate with them after that.
Exactly. But with the blockchain technology, you can easily to track, the ownership of those tickets, and also to communicate with the holders of the tickets, and to easily to gather them into, in the private dinner with like a very low cost solution, because you don't need to hire anyone to do that.
Exactly. So just to shed a little more context on what you're saying, right? First of all, normally we know that when it comes to ticket sales, you have third-party platforms like Ticketmaster, etc. And today, the barrier to entry and also the ticketing fees, a lot of people don't realize this, but a lot of the event organizers actually lose money on events versus make money on it. And ticketing platforms also charge a fairly significant fee. Now, besides the platform fee, obviously they need fees because they have also people to pay and they have a platform that they need to sustain. But then if you are not on the platform, getting data from there becomes harder. Yes, I think if it's something like Ticketmaster, you have access to the email ID, so you could still do a raffle, but then tracking that, hey, all of the people who had come in, right? And especially if that ticket has been resold to someone, all of those things, it's not easy. And yes, even companies can build that out further, but it's like a new infrastructure that they have to add to it. Whereas on blockchain started as a ledger, so it always was meant to have a transaction record of proof of transfer for value. And we can look at tickets as a store of value. So in this case, the blockchain infrastructure is readily available. The one thing that's not there on blockchain fully yet is sending messages on chain. But we know there are companies that are also solving for that. So pretty soon you'll also just be able to send on-chain messages to the people who hold the NFTs or the tokens in their wallet. So just to give, maybe, we could talk about how these NFTs, like, you presented a great thought on how if Taylor Swift wanted to just, all of a sudden she said, okay, I want to do this dinner, or maybe she says, I want to host this dinner, but I want to host it for people who have attended, like, I think her tour is like 12 or 13 shows, I don't remember, but it's like one show every 3 weeks or one show a month. So if she wanted to do something special for somebody who has attended 5 of these shows, right? Now, if that was on traditional ticketing, you have to get all the data, try and really look through the data and figure out if there are overlaps. And then, there's a lot to manage there. But when it comes to what we are doing here on blockchain, you can actually figure it out very easily because you just have to check which wallet holds 5 of your tokens, and the infrastructure is already there and you can easily look at it. What are your thoughts on the event ticket serving as a digital collectible? I know you said that, people can store them in a shelf, but in the past we have had some really amazing ticket sales, right? So a lot of the times when a ticket is associated with an event that is memorable in the minds of the people, we see a huge value associated with that ticket. So for example, one of the tickets from a 1934 Masters game, which also was autographed by 17 of the people at that game, that ticket was sold for a whopping $600,000 in March 2022. And if you look at shows like Pawn Stars, right? Or on Netflix, we have a new show called Goldfin, which is also in the collectible industry. We see that there is a huge value associated with such event tickets. So when people come to sell the tickets, there are a couple of issues there, right? First of all, the ticket has to be in pristine condition, and that changes the value of the ticket. And the second problem is the authenticity of that ticket. Right? A lot of the times that is something that people chat about. So what do you think? Do you think that what you're doing, like every attendee gets a digital collectible, so their ticket stub is a digital collectible that stays with them on chain? Do you think this idea can revolutionize how people use collectibles?
Yeah, of course. I think in terms of the 2 pinpoints you mentioned, the condition of the ticket, of course it's on chain. It's not gonna be it's gonna be in a bad condition, and also checking the authenticity. I mean, that's the whole purpose of the blockchain, to have everything more transparent and to having everything more authentic. I think the putting those tickets on chain is solving both of those 2 problems. And secondly, it's with the blockchain technology, you can easily trade those tickets as like NFTs or as any tokens. Whereas before, you probably need to find, like, for example, if I'm the owner of that 300K ticket, I probably need to find an agency to do the verification to
$600,000 ticket, and you have to find an agency, pay them a couple of $1,000s to verify the authenticity.
Of course. and then you're paying them to actually shipping the product and
brokerage fees as well, which generally is 20% of the sale value.
Wow. That's super high. Wow.
Yes, that is how it is though. But then with NFTs, you already have a marketplace where you can do that, right? You still have to probably spend some money in marketing it because people need to know that this ticket is for sale at a marketplace. However, the infrastructure is readily available to you.
Yeah, for sure. And especially also right now we have the technologies like account abstractions in where people can use the not only like cryptocurrencies, they can buy like crypto directly with fiat payments with like MoonPay or Alchemy Pay. That also helps to having more adoptions of people using those NFT marketplaces.
So what we're talking about here, ladies and gentlemen who are listening into the Silicon Dreams on radios in the Key 1550 AM, is how we can create Web3 experiences that are not jarring for people. So one of the primary obstacles or barrier to entry to Web3 is the fact that today when you try to interact with Web3 applications, you have to have some cryptocurrency on hand. And in order to get that cryptocurrency, if you are a miner, and a lot of you might have heard the term miners are people who support a chain by providing hardware resources to that chain, and that's how they get paid. But very few people are actually miners in the world. So for a lot of the people, the process includes going to a platform like Coinbase and then buying some cryptocurrency there and then transferring that cryptocurrency from Coinbase to a wallet like MetaMask, etc., and then using that wallet to then buy something. And this definitely creates a very long onboarding process for someone who's coming in. What Nicholas here is talking about is DINO.Live. If people go there, sign up for an account, they are easily able to use services like Alchemy Pay or MoonPay, which is very similar to Stripe and PayPal. So people can just pay with their credit cards or bank accounts. In a lot of cases, bank accounts work better because these transactions are still classified as crypto. So sometimes, your credit cards won't go through. But you can easily pay with your bank account. You have the security that's in place. And you don't have to worry. The entire process where we spoke about going to Coinbase, changing, connecting your bank account, buying cryptocurrency, then taking that cryptocurrency and sending it to your wallet. You don't have to do any of that. It's just a one-step process rather. And that definitely, improves it, especially as you try to bring in more Web2 audiences.
Yeah, the user experience is much better. Yeah, and I like your summary. It's very nice and succinct.
Thank you. So how can people find out more about DINO.Live?
Oh, yeah, you can go to our website. It's DINO.Live. And also, you can find the Dino on Twitter. So you can, Dino, actually we call it DINO. So which stands for digital nomads. That's a very interesting word. That's like people who working remotely. And actually, before the event ticketing, we were actually trying to build something only for digital nomads, because I feel like there's a huge market of digital nomads. But
absolutely, we have actually had, and I'm so sorry for butchering it. I should have actually asked. This is my fault. But DINO, right? Digital nomads. I think. Tahoe, the prices in Tahoe skyrocketed because of the whole idea of digital nomads, right? People want to go and work from the wilderness, still being connected. We have also seen companies that have RVs that they rent out, complete with Wi-Fi, satellite internet, etc. So people can go set up their place somewhere, work from there. So okay, so guys, it's DINO, DINO.Live. That's how you can go and find that platform. Is the platform out of beta right now?
It's we are still in beta right now. We actually launched the product last week, and we are gonna be in beta, I think, for the whole year this year, because we're trying to improve the features, and it's also it's my first time actually launching a product. Very exciting, but also probably has a lot of issues or
bugs that need to be squashed.
But luckily we haven't got any bugs right now. But I think the best way to actually to get to know us is attend our Stanford events on August 28th.
So guys, there is a big event. First of all, Stanford is hosting a Stanford blockchain conference. Now, if you don't have a ticket, it's going to be very hard to get a ticket, but there are many side events around that. So if you are interested in the world of Web3 and you're interested in use cases of Web3, not just beyond the speculative hype that we have seen in the past couple of years, but really learning about what applications people are building in Web3, then you can attend a lot of these events at the Stanford blockchain, around the Stanford blockchain conference. And DINO.Live actually is hosting one of these events with a lot of big players. I know you already mentioned OKX, but we also have other layer ones, etc. joining hands. So we have Hedera, and maybe you can share some more names.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we actually have, the CEO of OKX coming. And also we have the CEO of Hedera and CEO of the Babylon chain. He's also a professor at Stanford, David Tsai. And also we have the CEO of the Back Protocol. We actually, we probably have, the best speakers profiles across all side events. Yeah, it's going to be on August 28th from 5 to 8 p.m. You can actually register on Dino. If you go to DINO.Live, you can see that in the, the big advertisement page, and you can just register.
And guys, this event is free to attend.
Yep.
So, you can definitely go ahead and check that out. Again, go to DINO.Live, DINO.Live. You have some of the smartest minds building in Web3. For context, a lot of these guys, like David Tsai is a professor, and even the founders of Hedera, they are guys in their 60s or 70s, I think. I don't know, or maybe
probably 50s.
They're probably 50s, yes. Lehman and Mans will feel that. But these guys are also doctoral holders, right? They are not even they are from Stanford, if I'm not wrong. And these guys are mathematicians who have solved for some of the biggest problems. So again, this crowd is a crowd that's all about building real world use cases. And just to give some context, for example, with Hedera, the people who are on their board or the governing council, these are companies like Google, Boeing, ServiceNow, IBM, Dell. So we are really talking about good Silicon Valley sort of culture and not just a speculative hype that people have typically seen in crypto. So go to DINO.Live. The event is free to attend. And as an honor, and as a show of love and token for joining us here on the Silicon Dreams, Nicholas has also agreed to give out a free VIP tickets. So if you want to attend the event, and the VIP tickets actually entitle you to a nice bag of swag and goodies and some cool merchandise that you can take with you. You could actually go and buy one of the VIP tickets right off the shelf. They are just $15, but you can use the code ORBIS86. So that's ORBIS 86 to actually get it at no price. So, thanks to Nicholas for setting that up.
Sure.
And folks, definitely try and attend the event and explore the platform.
Yep. And also the event name is called Ignite Stanford. So there's it's when you log into DINO.Live, you can see in the center of the page the Ignite Stanford event. Yep.
So guys, if you are in the Bay Area and you want to learn more about Web3, especially building on Web3, and also figure out what the big enterprises are actually building on Web3, right? A lot of the times the smaller people get left behind because they don't know about the trends that the bigger industries are working on. But make sure you don't get left behind. Don't worry about what happens in the mainstream news, because I can tell you this, that people are actively building in the Web3 space, and Web3 is going to be here to stay. It's just like what happened with internet back in 2000. You had a bubble, the bubble burst, but internet did not become obsolete. But similarly, right now we are going through those phases, right, where we are seeing a bear market in Web3 and globally as well. But Web3 as a technology is here to stay. So if you want to learn about it, join us at Ignite Stanford. Again, go to DINO.Live and look for a free ticket. Or if you get a VIP ticket, use the code ORBIS86, ORBIS, and the numbers 86, and get yourself a VIP ticket. Before we leave, do you have any parting words to share with our audience today?
Yeah. I mean, I'm very super excited to share the Dino platform and also the entire Web3 technologies to everyone. I think I'm very grateful for people who join in today. I know we are in a super bear market right now, and everybody in Web3, like not everyone, I mean half of people went to AI, but it's good to have talk to people who are still interested in Web3, and also when we do something, you have to have a big belief in it. And I think for all the Web3 builders in the space right now, they have, a huge belief in the decentralization. And it's not so much about, making money through trading
making
on
money
crypto. Yep.
online overnight, right?
Yep.
Nobody really is focused on that.
Yep.
People are focused on the principles of decentralization, about people owning their own data, people owning their own finances.
Yep.
And middlemen not screwing up with people. That is what this industry is actually about.
Yep.
I love that. That's a great thought to leave people with. That guys, when you look at Web3, look at the principles of decentralization and what it empowers, allowing people to get freed from the shackles that bureaucracy around them could be putting on them, being able to come out of these, being able to decouple themselves from corrupt governance if there are a lot of countries in the world that suffer from it. Decentralization provides people with a way to actually move beyond it and take control of everything that is their own. And at the same time, a lot of people might look at Web3 versus AI, but Web3 is also a technology, AI is also a technology. There isn't a competition between Web3 and AI. In fact, a lot of applications that are being built leverage both of these technologies. So
exactly.
Whenever you hear people talk about Web3 versus AI, just disregard it, because honestly, both of them are technologies and both of them are being used by the next generation of builders to build cool applications. And with that, it's time to bid farewell on the Silicon Dreams on Radio Zindagi 1550 AM. This is your show host, RJ Sonia, founder of Orbis 86, signing off. And again, Jia Jagai.